Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today, we're going to be tackling something that, affects every single one of us, whether we realize it or not,
Yeah,
the world of finance and economics.
it's true. These concepts are often seen as intimidating, but, uh, you know, they're really just tools for understanding how money and resources work, and that knowledge can be incredibly empowering.
Exactly. Imagine being able to decode why prices soar after a natural disaster,
Right.
or how global events like a country's unemployment rate can impact your own personal finances. That's the kind of aha moment we're aiming for in this deep dive.
Yeah, by the end of this, you'll not only have a solid grasp of the fundamentals, but you'll also start seeing those concepts play out in your everyday life.
Okay, let's dive in. You mentioned finance can be personal, corporate, or even public. That seems like a lot to cover. What's the most crucial thing for our listener to grasp about finance right now?
Well, at its core, finance is about managing money and resources to reach a goal. It doesn't matter if it's your personal savings, a company's investment strategy, or even a government budget.
Yeah.
It's all about making smart choices with limited resources to achieve a desired outcome.
So whether you're saving for a dream vacation
Yep.
or a company is deciding whether to build a new factory, it's all about using the tools of finance to make those dreams a reality. Now, you mentioned those three different flavors of finance: personal, corporate, and public. How do those fit together?
Well, think of them as interconnected pieces of the same puzzle.
Okay.
Personal finance focuses on you managing your money, budgeting, saving, investing.
Mhm.
Corporate finance is the world of businesses, how they raise capital, invest, and manage their financial resources. And then there's public finance, which is all about how governments manage their money,
Okay.
taxes, spending, and everything in between.
Okay, so we've got you managing your budget, companies launching new products, and the government funding public services all happening at the same time.
Yeah,
But how do they actually impact each other? I'm guessing it's not just a coincidence that they all involve money.
you got it. They're constantly influencing each other. Let's say the government decides to lower interest rates. That's public finance, right? But that decision directly impacts how much you pay for a car loan or a mortgage, which falls under personal finance. Similarly, if a company invests heavily in research and development,
Right.
that can lead to economic growth and potentially even affect government tax revenue, bringing it back to public finance.
It's fascinating how these seemingly separate areas are actually intertwined, each influencing the others. It's like a financial ecosystem where everything is connected. Okay, so now that we've laid the groundwork for what finance is, let's zoom out and see how those individual decisions fit into the bigger picture of economics.
Economics is all about making tough choices. How do we use our limited resources like money, time, and materials to satisfy our unlimited wants? It's about understanding how people and societies make decisions in the face of scarcity.
I like that it's about recognizing that we can't have it all, so we need to make smart choices about what we prioritize. So where do those zoomed in individual decisions that we are talking about in finance fit into this broader economic picture?
That's where the two main branches of economics come in: microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics focuses on individual decision-making,
Okay.
like why you choose to buy that expensive coffee even though the price went up, or how a company decides how many products to produce and what price to sell them at. It's all about supply and demand, those classic economic forces that drive so much of what we see in the marketplace.
That makes sense. It's like economics on a personal or business level. So what about macroeconomics? That sounds way more, well, macro.
Exactly. Macroeconomics takes a wider view, examining the overall performance and behavior of the economy as a whole.
Okay.
It tackles those big picture concepts you see in the headlines, things like inflation, unemployment rates, economic growth, and a country's GDP.
So while microeconomics might help us understand why we crave that latte, macroeconomics helps us understand why its price keeps going up.
Precisely. Inflation, that sneaky villain that makes your money buy less over time,
Right.
is a perfect example of macroeconomics in action. Let's say you're saving for a $20,000 car. If inflation is 3% per year, by the time you save enough, that same car might cost you $22,000. Inflation quietly eats away at your purchasing power.
Okay, that's a real world example that hits home.
Yeah,
And it highlights how economics, specifically macroeconomics in this case, directly impacts your personal finances. So these two fields, finance and economics, they're not isolated subjects, are they? They're like partners in a dance, constantly influencing each other.
you nailed it. They're intertwined, working together to shape the financial landscape we all navigate.
This is all really starting to click. But why should our listener care about all of this? I mean, if they're not planning on becoming a Wall Street tycoon or an economics professor, does it really matter?
That's where financial literacy comes in.
Okay.
It's not about becoming an expert, but rather having the knowledge and skills to make smart financial decisions that work for you,
Yeah.
regardless of your income level or career aspirations.
I get it. It's about having the tools to navigate this complex world of money so we can
Yeah.
make informed choices that align with our goals, whether that's buying a house, starting a business, or simply having enough money to enjoy life.
Absolutely. And that's where we come in, helping you break down these seemingly complex topics into bite-sized, approachable pieces. Even a basic understanding of these concepts can make a huge difference in your financial well-being. Think about it.
Mhm.
Knowing how to invest early on, even small amounts, could be the difference between a comfortable retirement and one filled with financial stress.
That's a powerful thought. But I think there's a common misconception out there that this is all just for the rich. Like budgeting is only for people with tons of money, right?
Yeah.
I used to think that way myself, but when I started tracking my spending, I realized even small changes like cutting back on takeout coffee made a difference.
That's a great point. Financial literacy is for everyone, regardless of your income level.
Yeah.
Whether you're managing a tight budget or have a healthy income, the principles remain the same. It's about making informed choices that align with your goals.
Okay, myth busted.
Yeah.
And I think another misconception is that economics is just about numbers.
Right.
Sure, there are equations and graphs involved, but isn't it really about understanding human behavior? It's like, how do we as individuals and societies make choices when faced with limited resources?
That's a key insight. Economics, at its heart, is about understanding human behavior,
Yeah.
how we make decisions, how we respond to incentives, and how our choices impact the broader economy.
So it's not just about abstract theories, it's about understanding the real-world implications of those choices, from the price of our morning coffee to the global economic landscape.
Exactly, and that's what we'll be exploring further in this deep dive, how these concepts play out in real life, impacting your personal finances and shaping the world around us.
So we've talked about these big concepts like finance and economics,
Yeah.
but how do they actually play out in our daily lives? Where's the connection for our listener?
That's where the rubber meets the road. Let's start with something we all grapple with,
Oh,
budgeting.
budgeting. It's one of those words that can make people cringe. It feels restrictive, like a financial diet.
I hear you. But budgeting doesn't have to be about deprivation. It's actually about empowerment. It's about making conscious choices about where your money goes so you can achieve your goals, whether that's buying a house, traveling the world, or just feeling financially secure.
Okay, so how do we go from dreading a budget to actually feeling empowered by it? Where do we even begin?
The first step is awareness. You need to track your spending and see where your money is actually going. There are great apps out there, but even a simple notebook can do the trick. The key is to be honest with yourself about your spending habits.
I've heard people say they were shocked when they actually started tracking their spending. All those little expenses can really add up. So once you have a handle on where your money is going, what's next?
That's when you can start creating a budget that works for you. And the key here is finding a system that fits your personality and lifestyle. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
So what are some different budgeting methods people can try? I've heard of the 50-30-20 method. Is that a good one?
It's a great starting point. It's super simple. 50% of your after-tax income goes to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt repayment. You can tweak those percentages based on your situation, but the core idea is to prioritize your spending in a way that aligns with your goals.
That's a great framework. But life happens, right? Things change, unexpected expenses pop up. How do you stay flexible with a budget?
You're right, flexibility is key. Don't think of your budget as set in stone. It's a living document that should evolve with your needs and circumstances. The important thing is to review it regularly and make adjustments as needed.
Okay, so we're tracking our spending, creating a budget, and being flexible. What about another big financial topic, debt? It's a word that can make people feel overwhelmed and even ashamed.
It's true. Debt is a reality for many people, and it can be a major source of stress. But the key is to understand that not all debt is created equal.
Wait, are you saying there's such a thing as good debt? I thought all debt was bad.
Well, let's think about a mortgage. While it's a large financial obligation, it's typically considered good debt because you're investing in an asset that appreciates in value over time,
Oh.
your home. Plus, you're building equity with each mortgage payment.
I see your point. So good debt can actually help build wealth in the long run, but I'm guessing credit card debt doesn't fall into that category.
Not usually. High-interest credit card debt is often considered bad debt because it can quickly spiral out of control if you're only making minimum payments. The interest charges can really eat into your finances, making it harder to reach your other financial goals.
Okay, so knowing the difference between good debt and bad debt is crucial. If you're struggling with high interest debt, what's the best course of action?
The first step is to create a plan to pay it down as quickly as possible. There are different strategies you can try, like the debt snowball method, where you focus on paying off your smallest debts first to gain momentum, or the debt avalanche method, where you tackle the debts with the highest interest rates first to save money on interest charges.
It sounds like there's a strategy for every personality type. But what if you're feeling totally overwhelmed by debt? Where can you turn for help?
Don't be afraid to reach out for professional guidance. There are certified financial advisors and credit counselors who can help you create a personalized plan to get out of debt and get on track toward your financial goals.
It's so reassuring to know that there are experts out there who can help. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about something a little more exciting. Investing. For a lot of people, investing seems like this mysterious, risky thing that only wealthy people do.
It's true that investing comes with risks, but it doesn't have to be a mystery. At its core, investing is about putting your money to work for you so it can grow over time, helping you reach your long-term financial goals.
I like that analogy. Instead of your money just sitting there, it's actively working to build your future. But with so many different investment options out there, stocks, bonds, real estate, crypto, how do you even know where to start?
The first step is understanding your own risk tolerance. Are you comfortable with the ups and downs of the stock market? Or do you prefer more stable investments like bonds? Your risk tolerance will help guide your investment choices.
So it's like choosing an adventure. Are you a thrill seeker who enjoys roller coasters? Or do you prefer a scenic train ride?
Exactly. And your time horizon, how long you plan to invest, also plays a role. If you're investing for retirement decades from now, you might be more comfortable with higher risk investments because you have more time to recover from potential losses.
Makes sense. But I think there's this misconception that you need a lot of money to start investing. Is that true?
Not at all. You can start investing with small amounts of money, especially with the rise of online brokerage platforms that offer fractional shares. The key is to start early and stay consistent.
Why is starting early so important?
Because of the magic of compounding. It's like earning interest on your interest, so your money snowballs over time. The earlier you start, the more time your money has to compound and grow.
So even small, consistent investments can really add up over time.
Exactly. And it's never too late to start investing, even if you're starting later in life. Every little bit counts.
This is all great information. But let's bring back that inflation villain we talked about earlier. How does inflation impact our investments?
That's an important point. Inflation erodes the purchasing power of your money over time, so it's crucial to consider it when making investment decisions. If your investments aren't earning a return that outpaces inflation, you're essentially losing money in real terms.
Okay, so we need to make sure our investments are growing faster than the rate of inflation. Are there certain types of investments that are better at doing this?
Historically, stocks and real estate have tended to outpace inflation over the long term. But it's important to diversify your investments and not put all your eggs in one basket. We'll be diving deeper into different investment strategies in future episodes.
I'm looking forward to it. It's amazing how all these seemingly separate concepts, budgeting, debt management, investing, inflation, are actually all part of the same intricate financial tapestry.
That's the beauty of it all. Seeing how these pieces fit together and understanding the bigger picture, it empowers you to make informed decisions that align with your values and ultimately lead you towards financial well-being.
It's like having a financial roadmap guiding us towards our goals. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I have to ask, what about those times when our emotions get in the way of making smart financial decisions?
You're talking about behavioral economics. It's a fascinating field that explores how our psychology, biases, and emotions can impact our financial choices. And that's something we'll be diving into next.
Yeah, it's fascinating how even, small choices, like grabbing that extra latte, can be viewed through the lens of behavioral economics.
Right.
Our emotions, our biases, and even our social circles can influence how we spend, how we save, and how we invest. So it's not always about pure logic and rationality when it comes to money. Our emotions and psychology play a role too.
Exactly. Take something called loss aversion, for example. Studies have shown that people feel the pain of a loss more strongly than the pleasure of an equivalent gain.
Oh, interesting. So losing $100 feels worse than the joy of gaining $100.
Precisely. And that fear of loss can impact our investment decisions.
Okay.
We might hold on to losing investments for too long, hoping they'll rebound or avoid investing altogether because we're afraid of losing money.
Yeah, that's a classic example of how our emotions can get in the way of making rational financial decisions. Any other examples of this behavioral economics stuff at play?
Another fascinating concept is mental accounting. It's the idea that we mentally categorize money into different buckets, even though it's all fungible.
Fungible. You're going to have to explain that one.
Essentially means interchangeable.
Right.
Money is money, right? But we tend to treat money differently depending on where it comes from or what we intend to use it for.
Okay, so it's like that feeling of getting a bonus at work. You might be more likely to splurge on something you wouldn't normally buy with your regular paycheck. Or the classic found money scenario, you find $20 on the street and suddenly you feel like you have extra spending money.
Exactly. We often treat that found money as less valuable than the money we earned through our hard work, even though logically it should be the same.
It's interesting how these mental quirks can impact our financial behavior. Any tips on how we can be more aware of these biases and avoid falling into these traps?
Well, one key is to be mindful of your emotions when making financial decisions. If you find yourself getting caught up in the excitement of a potential investment or the fear of missing out, take a step back and consider the decision rationally. Ask yourself, am I making this decision based on solid information and my long-term goals, or am I letting my emotions cloud my judgment?
It's like hitting the pause button before making a big financial decision. And I'm guessing education plays a role too. The more we understand about these behavioral biases, the better equipped we are to recognize them and make more informed choices.
Absolutely. That's why we're diving into these concepts today to raise your awareness and empower you to make smarter financial decisions.
This has been super insightful. But before we wrap up this deep dive into finance and economics, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier, values-based investing. It's the idea of aligning your investments with your personal values. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. It's a growing trend, and for good reason. People are realizing that their investments can not only generate financial returns, but also reflect their ethical and social beliefs.
So it's like putting your money where your mouth is,
Right.
investing in companies and causes that align with what you care about.
Exactly. And there are different approaches to values-based investing. One is negative screening, where you exclude certain companies or industries from your portfolio based on your values.
So if you're passionate about environmental sustainability, you might avoid investing in fossil fuel companies.
Precisely. Then there's positive screening, where you actively seek out companies that are making a positive impact in areas you care about,
Okay.
like renewable energy, social justice, or ethical labor practices.
So it's about supporting businesses that are doing good in the world.
Exactly. And then there's impact investing, which goes even further by measuring and tracking the social and environmental impact of your investments. It's about making a tangible difference.
That's pretty amazing. It's like your investments become agents of change.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And it's a growing trend as more investors recognize they can build wealth and make a positive contribution to society.
Okay, so if someone is interested in exploring values-based investing, where do they start?
Well, the first step is to define your values. What issues do you care most about? What impact do you want your investments to make? Once you've got that figured out, you can research different investment options that align with your values.
It's like creating a personal investment philosophy that reflects what's important to you.
Exactly. And just like with any investment, it's important to do your due diligence and research different options before making decisions.
Well said. We've covered so much ground today, from budgeting and debt to investing and even the psychology behind our financial choices.
It's been a whirlwind tour of finance and economics.
But remember, this is just the beginning of your financial literacy journey. There's always more to learn, and we'll be here to guide you along the way.
Absolutely. We'll be diving deeper into specific concepts, investment strategies, and insights from experts in the field.
It's an exciting time to be engaged in the world of finance and economics, and we can't wait to continue exploring it with you.
Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.
And remember, the power to shape your financial future is in your hands.